Didn't upload last week because of school, because of Christmas, and because I'm fat. VOICEBOX is a Ticci Toby fanfiction consisting of 12 chapters and was first published on Quotev on the 29th of March 2014. Obviously, all signs point towards it being a magnum opus, so therefore I thought I would read the story together with you all, so we can dull the pain together. Each week, every Tuesday, I'll upload a new chapter. Let's call it Tiki Tuesdays. Now, it begins. VOICEBOX, a Ticci Toby love story. Chapter 10. When I woke up, I was disappointed to see that it hadn't been a dream. Phoenix and I were still chained to the wall of Solgo's dungeon. I tried to break free again with the same results as before. I couldn't call for help, I couldn't pick the locks, I couldn't transport, and I couldn't break the chains. Phoenix woke up when the door opened and Solgo strolled in with two servants following close behind. The servants quickly placed 2 trays of food on a torture table and scurried out of the dungeon. Solgo's gaze drifted from Phoenix to me. Smirking, he cocked a hip and raised an eyebrow when he saw the fresh blood streaming down my arms from my struggle with the chains. "Little princess, it is impossible for you to escape those chains. No one of slender blood will be able to unlock them or even sense the aura of the people wearing them." He chuckled as he strolled up to me and caressed my face. I wanted to bite him so bad, but I knew that Phoenix would be the one to get punished if I did. "You will soon learn to accept the honor I am giving you and your sister. You will come to crave my touch." I glared at him and turned my head to the side. He grabbed my hair and forced me to look at him. He then kissed me hungrily and forced his tongue down my throat as he ran his hands down my body. Okay. I'll give the story credit. Solgo is acting like a fucking creep. I panicked and bite down on his tongue, then headbutted him when he pulled away from me. "It seems you haven't learned your lesson yet, princess." Solgo stormed over to Phoenix and punched her in the face so hard that I heard a crack from all the way across the room. Phoenix screamed and sobbed as her nose started gushing blood. He then ripped her clothes off and raked his sharp nails down her stomach, causing 4 large bloody gashes. Phoenix didn't say anything, though she whimpered and cried. "Stop it! Leave her alone!" I pulled against my chains, causing my wrists and ankles to bleed again. He looked back over at me and smirked. "Have you learned your lesson yet, princess? Are you ready to behave?" He gently kissed Phoenix's cheek when I nodded my head, because of course, all of this is gonna convince them to become your devoted wives. Yes, I could feel tears streaming down my face. "Good. I would rather my brides look presentable for our wedding." Striding over to the torture bed, he picked up one of the plates and fed Phoenix, though I could tell that she was in too much pain to eat much. Once she was done eating, Solgo kissed her forehead and brought me my plate. As much as I would have loved to spit in his face and refuse to eat, I behaved and ate what he fed me. I couldn't stand to get Phoenix beaten again. After Zalgo finished feeding me, he kissed me again, and this time I managed to keep myself from attacking him. After a minute, he pulled away and caressed my cheek. "See, that wasn't so bad, now was it, princess? Now I have some work I must finish. Wedding invitations to have delivered and prisoners to torture. I will see you at lunch, my lovely brides." He collected the plates and with another kiss to both of our foreheads, sauntered out of the dungeon. Once again, Phoenix and I were left alone in the dark, chained to the walls. Again, the only sound I could hear was Phoenix sobbing. "Phoenix, I'm so sorry. I just panicked." "I know. Do not worry about me. I am sure we will be rescued soon." It was hard to hear her through her crying, but it gave me a little comfort that she didn't blame me, though I still felt horrible about being the reason my sister was beaten. Time skip brought to you by VOICEBOX's Skinners, the only weapon you will ever need. Are you shitting me? That's what it actually says. Time skip brought to you by VOICEBOX's Skin. That's a way to bring you out of the moment. God, do you know of tension, author? The day's pasted. The day's pasted, with no rescue in sight, and I was starting to give up hope on Father finding us. Phoenix tried to keep my hopes up, but I could tell she was starting to doubt too. I couldn't help but blame our situation on Toby. If he hadn't cheated on me, I wouldn't have left the mansion. Phoenix wouldn't have followed me, and neither of us would be chained to the wall in this dungeon. The only other person we saw besides Solgo was the servant who brought our meals and took our measurements for our wedding gowns. He would never speak, and only looked at us when he took our measurements. If it wasn't for Phoenix, I would have fallen for Solgo's plan. Stockholm Syndrome, that was his plan. He kept us isolated and dependent on him for everything. Heck, we even had to wait to use the small bathroom until he came with our meals, and he would unhook the chains from the wall and hold them while Phoenix or I relieved ourselves. Okay. Solgo was trying to make us crave his attention to relieve the boredom and keep what sanity we had left. I might have fallen into that trap if Phoenix hadn't been there with me, encouraging me to hold on. After the second day, I stopped resisting when he came in. Though letting him kiss me and fondle me made me want to puke. This is actually turning really psychological and kind of weird. I just couldn't stand to be the source of my sister's pain. Luckily, Phoenix healed quickly, and we had come up with a plan. Each day we would warm up to Solgo a little more. It was simple. Let him think his plan was working and hope that he takes us out of the dungeon before the wedding. Then once the chains were removed and he trusted us to stay with him, we would find a way to escape. Unfortunately, Solgo wasn't taking us lightly. We were in that dungeon until the day before the wedding, and when we were escorted to a regular room, we had a shackle around our necks and a long chain attached to the bedposts. Neither of us could touch the chains without being burned, and there was nothing in the room that we could use to pick the locks. Though on the bright side, we were able to move around, and since it is considered bad luck for the groom to see his bride before the wedding, we didn't have to pretend that we had fallen for him. That night, 3 female servants came and bathed Phoenix and I so that we were clean and sweet-smelling for the ceremony in the morning. Quick side note, why does Solgo want to marry them? Like, he could get anyone in the entire world. Probably some, crazy fangirl if he wanted it too, that, like, totally loves him. So, why does he want to marry these 2 bitches? Like, what have they done different? They're a bunch of psychotic fucking a-holes. What have they done? How are they wife material? We didn't even try to talk to them, and they didn't talk after informing us what they had been instructed to do. 2 of the women were older, hollow-eyed, and showed no emotion whatsoever, but the third was younger and looked at me with pity and sorrow. I figured she must not have been here as long as the other 2. After they bathed us, they dressed us in white satin nightgowns and chained us back to the bedposts. The older women took our clothes as the younger one finished chaining us. As the 3 of them turned to leave, the younger woman discreetly dropped a white object near my hand on the bed. Well, that's convenient. After I was sure they were gone, I picked up the object. It was a note wrapped around a small key. I smiled as I read the note and then showed it to Phoenix and hid the key under the pillow. The younger woman had given us just what we needed to escape. Her name was Silent Tears, and she said that she couldn't let what happened to her before she died happen to us. The note told us exactly what time we needed to pretend to sleep, so that the servants sent to check on us wouldn't raise an alarm until it was too late. It seemed that Solgo had neglected to post any guards since we were kept chained, so we only had to worry about getting out without the loyal servants seeing us. Well, this Silent Tears character is like a fucking Deus Ex Machina Deluxe. She knows everything. She's omnipotent. She knows everything about everything. She had taken care to tell us that there was a secret exit just down the hall from us, and that Solgo would be able to hear it if we tried to call for help before we leave his territory. She also warned us to keep the shackles on until we were out of his territory or he would be able to find us. The shackles worked for anyone looking for us, not just those with slender blood. Slender blood. Can this story move on? I don't care about these fucking things. Can fucking something happen? She wished us well and hoped we would have happy lives. I wished we could have taken her with us, but there was no way we would have able to find her in that place without being caught. After the midnight check-in by these servants, Phoenix and I quietly unlocked the chains, but left the shackles on just as Silent Tears instructed. I held the note and the key tightly, and silently swore to find a way to thank her someday. We snuck out of the bedroom in just our nightgowns and bedroom slippers, and kept close to the wall as we crept down the hall to the secret passage. It took a minute or two to find the right brick to push, but in less than 10 minutes we had escaped our prison and were running into the woods. Finding the right brick? What is this, the Diagon Alley? A half hour after we reached the woods, we stopped to remove the shackles, and though we felt stronger, we weren't strong enough to transport yet. We could finally talk to each other silently again, and we both called out to Father to come pick us up. I could feel Father's joy at hearing our voices, and when we told him what happened, he told us to keep running. It seems we took these shackles off a little too soon, and Father could tell that we were still in Solgo's territory, where he could not transport. We took off running again, and Father told us that he would transport with some of the others to the edge of Solgo's territory and find us on foot. Please tell me that Slenderman and Solgo have a death battle. I want that to happen so bad. After that, we broke off contact so that Solgo couldn't hear us. After another 10 minutes, I could feel two very powerful auras. Father's was reassuringly close, but Solgo's was just a little closer. Phoenix told me to keep running and that she would distract him until Father arrived. I tried to argue, but she wouldn't change her mind. I had no choice but to run and leave my sister to face him alone until Father could reach her. A short time later, I ran into Father and told him what was happening. He instructed Toby and Laughing Jack to get me back home as soon as they crossed the territorial divide. Father, followed by Masky, Hoodie, Jeff and Eyeless Jack, took off as fast as they could towards Phoenix. Toby tried to hug me, but I pushed him away and hugged LJ. He hugged me back, picked me up and started running back the way they had come with Toby left to follow. 10 minutes later, we were back in Slenderwoods and LJ transported us back to the mansion. Benna was in an awful state when I got there. She sobbed herself to sleep on my shoulder while we waited for Father to bring the others back home. Once Benna was asleep, I tucked her into bed and went to the living room to wait. Tsume came into the room and hugged me close. "VOICEBOX, I missed you so much. I would have gone with the others to find you." Oh, this is Tsume. What was Tsume's voice? I don't fucking know. "I would have gone with the others to find you, but I'm Benna's bodyguard and I couldn't leave her here." "I've missed you too, Tsume. I'm glad you've been taking care of Benna for me while I've been gone." "It wasn't easy." This is Tsume, by the way. "It wasn't easy. There were a few times these last 2 weeks when Benna's sanity snapped and she added several new limbs to her garden." How the fuck are we supposed to sympathize with these cunty characters? Fucking Benna goes out killing innocent people when things don't go her way. What the fuck? "There were a few times these last 2... Oh yeah, I read that. Tsume laughed as he let me go. "Oh, so funny. Murder is so funny." And we sat down on the couch. I appreciated his company. It distracted me from worrying about the rest of my family. We sat there talking about Benna for a few minutes before Toby came in. "Tsume, would you mind giving VOICEBOX and me a few moments alone?" The question sounded more like a demand. Tsume shrugged and started to get up, but I grabbed his arm to keep him seated. "Toby, I really have nothing to say to you. Why don't you go talk to Clockwork? I'm sure she would be happen to listen to you." She would be happen to listen to you. "Damn it, VOICEBOX, it wasn't." "Toby, I don't want to hear how it wasn't what it looked like. Everyone says that. I know what I saw. You and Clockwork were kissing and she had her hand down your pants. What's to explain about that? If it wasn't for you, Phoenix and I wouldn't have been kidnapped by Solgo. It's your fault that Phoenix was beaten. It's all your fault. Now leave me alone." I started crying as I screamed, and you know what? This hits close to home. This is hurting me too. This is seriously hurting me because Clockwork and me, we had something. I thought we had something. It just goes to show that women, they're only out for your dick. And when they have that, I don't fucking know, let's continue. My tail and tendrils thrashed back and forth in anger as I stood up and ran up to my room. I fell on my bed crying and still worrying about Father, Phoenix and the others. It was a few minutes later that I heard Father and Phoenix in my head letting me know that they were back. I rushed downstairs and hugged everyone tightly. None of them were seriously hurt, just a few gashes, and Jeff had a broken nose. We were all tired, so Father sent us up to bed, stating that they would tell me in the morning everything that happened. So after I hugged Phoenix and Father one more time, we all went to our rooms and fell into bed. I was still awake 10 minutes later when there was a light knock on my door. I quietly got up and went to answer the knock, hoping it wasn't Toby because I was just too tired to deal with him again. I was surprised to see Tsume standing nervously in the hallway scratching behind his ear. I smiled at how cute he was while blushing and fidgeting. "Tsume, what bring you here?" "What bring you here, yo?" I whispered so I wouldn't wake anyone. "Well, there is something I wanted to ask you for a while now." He blushed and looked down at the floor. Oh God, no. Go ahead, what did you want to know? I tilted my head, wondering why he was acting so shy. I thought he had gotten used to me a while ago, so I had no clue as to why he was suddenly shy again. Okay, so if I remember correctly, Tsume was introduced in like the last chapter before this one. This is just fabulous, isn't it? Well, VOICEBOX, I've loved you for a while now, and I was hoping you would be my girlfriend. I know it may be too soon for you, with you just breaking up with Toby. I don't want to rush you. Just think about it, okay? His blush was almost as red as my eyes, and the way he rushed at the end was cute. I giggled and smiled up at him. I really liked Tsume, and I knew he was a sweetheart. I didn't have to think about it too long, and as he turned to leave, I grabbed his arm. "I don't know I love you or not, but I'm willing to find out. I'll be your girlfriend, Tsume." I kissed his cheek, then closed the door while he stood there with a stunned look on his face. I went back to bed and fell right to sleep thinking of Tsume and how sweet he was. And that is the end of chapter 10. Next up is chapter 11. That's the second to last chapter, and like nothing has fucking happened. And wasn't Tsume, I might have got this wrong, but wasn't Tsume like some fucking creepy cat man thing? What the fuck? He was just introduced to add some drama to the fucking story. Why wasn't he introduced earlier in the story? It's like the author is making it up as they go along. Ooh, who would have thought? Thanks for listening, guys. Tune in next time for chapter 11. It's almost over. Yay.